What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Steve, back with another film review. I just got back from seeing Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the last film in the DCEU before the big reboot, and I have to share my thoughts with you guys. While the film does have some flaws, I thoroughly enjoyed this last adventure with Aquaman way more than I did the first one, and I'm sad to see the DCEU end on this note. The film is directed by James Wan, who returns from the first film and is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 4 minutes. I will be delving into some spoiler territory, so please advise, go see the film and come on back to check out my thoughts on it. Gonna start with my positives, firstly being Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman. He just adores this role so much, and it shows through his performance. There's such a youthful spirit that he instills in the character that just makes you have a good time with what you're watching, whether you expected to hate the movie or love it. You can't deny he has just electric screen presence. The relationship between Arthur and his brother Orm, played by a returning Patrick Wilson, was awesome. Their chemistry together starts to unfold more and more throughout. They start out at odds with each other in the way that they handle things, but then they start to find that familial love that wasn't present in the first film, mainly due to Orm wanting to destroy the surface world and Arthur trying to stop him. It was a lovely redemption arc for Orm, and it was refreshing to see him on the side of the good guys. I personally really loved the visual effects and set pieces this time around, and it didn't take me out of the experience too much. Sure, there were definitely some moments of actors in front of green screens and digital doubles that looked kind of weird, but it didn't occur as frequently, or at least I didn't notice it as much. The pacing is great as well. I never got bored at any point during the unfolding of the story, which was one of my main concerns going in, as the original film was a little too long, clocking in at almost 2.5 hours, but with this sequel, there's no origin story to fill people in on, so once it starts, it goes. The only negatives that I could take away from this film personally were, as stated before, some of the effects are kind of jarring when they are noticeable, such as when Queen Mera is determined to stop Manta, who has infiltrated Atlantis. She speeds up to the machine that he's using to escape, and you can clearly notice her CGI double barreling towards him, and they close in on her face, which was entirely digital, and it just looked a little weird. And this is mainly just a pet peeve of mine, but it's the uncanny valley of it all that is jarring to me. It happened with Aquaman as well later in the movie, and it was jarring then too. As much as I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen as an actor, it's a shame that his expanded role as the main antagonist for the sequel seemed a bit underwhelming. He's not given much room for development and essentially becomes possessed by the film's true villain, King Kordax. Basically, he becomes a tool to free him through the use of the Dark Trident that he finds earlier in the film. A side note, if you are not in support of Amber Heard as an actress, which I would completely understand, her role in this is actually larger than I expected it to be, so if you are in the camp of only seeing the film if she's not in it or is in it very little, you're going to be disappointed, as she has a much more significant role in this film than what was rumored, so take that into consideration before going to see it. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to give Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom a score of 4 out of 5. The wonderfully charismatic performance of Jason Momoa in his last hurrah as the character cannot be understated. His chemistry with Wilson was a delight to watch unfold on screen, and the pacing throughout the story was brisk and kept me engaged throughout. While the visual effects are far better this time around, there were moments of actors in front of green screens and digital doubles that possessed the uncanny valley effect and may be jarring to some viewers. Also, Black Manta's role as the central villain felt underwhelming in its delivery, as there's not much development for Mateen to play around with, and essentially just becomes a tool to resurrect the true villain of the movie. This is it, guys. The end of the DCEU as we know it. It's time to close the book and start anew. What did you think of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Do you think the DCEU crumbled under the weight of its own expectations? What character do you think Jason Momoa could play in the rebooted DCU? Lobo or another character entirely? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button and sub to the channel while you're at it, where I talk about my 2 favorite things, movies and video games. Hope you enjoyed your holiday and have a wonderful new year. Until next time, folks, keep it classy and keep it geeky.